Ambassador David Kumar's cybernetic translation implant malfunctioned at the worst possible moment in galactic history. He had been in the middle of delivering humanity's routine trade proposal to the Galactic Assembly when the quantum processor in his neural interface suddenly interpreted the ancient Etherian phrase, clash ventarimon, as I claim the right of ascension instead of its intended meaning, we seek favorable commerce. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. 12,000 representatives from across the galaxy, beings of crystalline thought, plasma-based consciousness, and evolved bacterial colonies, fell silent in perfect unison. The vast amphitheater of the Central Assembly, a structure built around a contained neutron star, whose gravity held together the meeting space, suddenly hummed with a frequency that David's enhanced hearing detected as profound shock. High Counselor Zephyris, the ancient vegan whose bioluminescent tendrils had guided galactic civilization for 3 millennia, slowly rose from the quantum throne that existed simultaneously across 17 dimensions. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of cosmic law. Ambassador Kumar of Terra, do you understand what you have just invoked? David's translation software finally kicked back online, flooding his consciousness with the true meaning of what he had accidentally said. His enhanced cardiovascular system immediately redlined as he realized the magnitude of his error. The right of ascension was an archaic law from the galaxy's earliest days, written into the fundamental legal code when the first interstellar civilizations were still young. It hadn't been invoked in over 2 million years, but it remained legally binding. Any sentient being could challenge the current galactic leadership for the throne, provided they could demonstrate worthiness through 3 trials that tested the very foundations of cosmic understanding. High Counselor, David stammered, his diplomatic training warring with the absurdity of the situation. There appears to have been a translation error. I was merely— The right has been spoken before the full assembly, Zephyris interrupted, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to the formal configurations of cosmic law. According to the primordial codes that govern our civilization, the challenge cannot be withdrawn once uttered. You have 48 standard hours to undergo the trials of ascension, or humanity will be considered in violation of galactic law and subject to immediate expulsion from all civilized space. David's enhanced neural implants were already running probability calculations. The results were uniformly catastrophic. Humanity had been part of galactic civilization for only 2 centuries, barely a heartbeat in cosmic terms. They were technological infants compared to races that had been manipulating quantum mechanics when Earth's sun was still forming. But as his implants processed the legal databases his diplomatic access allowed, David discovered something that made his artificial blood run cold. There was no record of anyone ever refusing the right of ascension once invoked. In 2 million years, every challenge had been attempted. And according to the extremely classified files his enhanced clearance could access, several of those challenges had succeeded. Within 6 hours, the news had spread across the galaxy through quantum entanglement networks. On Earth, emergency sessions of the World Council, convened as humanity's greatest minds, tried to comprehend what their ambassador had accidentally committed them to. Dr. Sarah Chen, humanity's leading expert on theoretical physics and quantum consciousness, stood before the emergency assembly, her own neural enhancements interfacing directly with every scientific database on Earth. The trials of ascension aren't just tests, she explained to the packed chamber. According to what little information we can access, they're fundamental challenges to the nature of reality itself. The first trial tests understanding of dimensional mechanics beyond our current physics. The second examines consciousness integration across quantum states. The third— She paused, her enhanced cognitive processes struggling with the concepts. The third trial requires the challenger to demonstrate mastery over temporal causality while maintaining coherent existence across multiple timeline branches simultaneously. President Martinez leaned forward, her own tactical implants running worst-case scenarios. In other words, our ambassador accidentally volunteered humanity to attempt feats that are theoretically impossible according to our understanding of physics. Not impossible, Chen corrected. Just beyond our current development level by approximately 10,000 years. Back on the Central Assembly Station, David found himself confined to diplomatic quarters, while the galaxy's oldest civilizations debated humanity's fate. His neural implants had been monitoring quantum transmissions, translating the multidimensional conversations happening around him. The consensus was clear: humanity would fail the trial spectacularly, providing entertainment for species that had grown bored after millennia of predictable politics. Some betting pools had already formed, with odds heavily favoring complete human extinction within the first trial. But David had been analyzing the legal codes more carefully, and his diplomatic experience had taught him to look for loopholes that others might miss. Hidden in the archaic language of the primordial codes was a clause that everyone seemed to have overlooked. The challenger could choose a representative to undergo the trials in their place. More importantly, the trials themselves could be modified based on the challenger's technological level and developmental stage. They weren't fixed tests, but rather examinations scaled to push the boundaries of what each species could theoretically achieve. David's enhanced cognitive processing began working on a desperate plan. 47 hours and 37 minutes after his mistaken declaration, David stood before the Galactic Assembly once more. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him stood Dr. Chen, her consciousness networked to every quantum computer on Earth through experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of what human minds could withstand. Her neural implants had been expanded with processing cores that interfaced directly with humanity's most advanced AI systems. "High Counselor," David announced, "I invoke the right of substitution, and I request that the trials be calibrated to humanity's current developmental parameters." Zephyrus's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what David's translator interpreted as surprise. "You wish the trials to be easier?" "No," David replied, his diplomatic instincts finally finding solid ground. "I want them to be fair. The primordial codes state that trials must test the maximum potential of the challenging species, not compare them to civilizations with millions of years of advancement." The murmur that rippled through the assembly carried harmonics of intrigue. No challenger had ever requested scaled trials before. Most species that invoked the right of ascension were already at the peak of cosmic development. Zephyrus studied David with eyes that had witnessed the birth and death of entire star systems. "Very well, Ambassador. The trials will be scaled to test the absolute limits of human potential. But understand this, failure will still result in humanity's expulsion from galactic civilization." David nodded, then turned to Dr. Chen, whose consciousness was already expanding beyond the boundaries of individual thought, as she prepared to attempt the impossible. What happened next would determine whether a simple translation error would doom humanity or elevate them to rule over the galaxy. The trials were about to begin,